Living in Australia for foreign medical graduates or international medical graduates. This will be in three parts. The first part will be something about Australia. Second part will be something about the character of Australians. The third part will be about what it's like to work as a doctor in Australia. Next time, the first part. Well, Australia's a big country. It's almost the same size as the US. Only a fraction of the population, 25 million. Believe it or not, it's not a republic. It's ruled by the Queen. And becoming a republic was rejected about 15 years ago, so we're quite happy to be under control of the Queen. It's a vast country with vast mineral, gold, and other valuable resources underground. Diamonds, precious stones, quite a lot of gas, rare metals, so it's quite a rich country. The only thing it's really lacking in is water, but if you dig down far enough, there's vast water reserves. A lot of the land is actually fertile, and that's down towards the southeastern border. But it's not nearly as fertile as countries such as New Zealand. The land or earth is actually quite ancient and dusty and very hard to farm on in general. It's a elemental country with all the vast resources underneath the ground, and it's prone to a lot of natural disasters, a lot of really devastating floods up north Queensland, whole cities, towns wiped out, and to drought, shortages of water in the other extreme, where a lot of livestock, cattle, sheep starve to death. On top of that, we have huge fires, bushfires. Half of one of the states, New South Wales, can burn at any time, at any 1 year. It's quite amazing, actually. Half the state burning, so bushfires are a big issue. Also, we have outbreaks of pests, rats, mice, locusts. So it's an elemental country in many ways. Most of the population actually just lives around the periphery, the southeastern parts of the country. The rest of the country is barely inhabited. There's not so large, an indigenous population. Aborigines are wonderful people. There's over 100,000 rock art galleries, and they've inhabited the land for 40 to 60,000 years with preserved culture. They're just wonderful people, and it's fascinating. So that's Australia, the country itself, closely allied to the US, not so much the UK, trying to find its place in Asia. The next part, the Australian character. The Australians consider themselves to be the lucky country to get through any challenge. Luck always is on their side. We think it's an egalitarian society, but it's not really. There's quite a difference between the super rich, so-called poor, but it's not as vast as in the US or parts of Europe. It's widening as we go. There's a good welfare system, there's free healthcare system. Free healthcare actually comes off your tax, and there's government housing if you require it. So it's quite, in many ways, it's a fair society. But this egalitarian society, Australians still like to know. The first couple of questions I ask you is which suburb you live in, especially in Sydney, and what's your job. So they're aware of some sort of socio-economic standing, but not to the same extent as in the UK. The third thing is it a good country to work as a doctor? Well, the medical profession here is autonomous, pretty much in control of their own future. The government stays away from as much as possible, although every now and again they try to destroy private practice. But the specialty bodies and the general practice bodies are largely self-governing. So it's great, actually. We set our own standards, free from interfering bureaucrats. Every now and again some bureaucrats from the UK immigrate and they're quite shocked to find out well organised the doctors are. There's relatively few doctors, or they tend to be bunched up in the cities. There's very few in the rural areas, isolated areas. Those areas can be hard to live in terms of your spouse may not be happy there. A great distance from educational facilities, and very few restaurants or shops, but you can have a very satisfying practice in those areas. Doctors can earn very high incomes, especially specialists. Now, in terms of becoming a specialist, it's hard to get into medical school. It's quite competitive. It's not that hard to get through. Doing specialty training, very, very hard to get into a lot of the coveted specialties, surgery, radiology, dermatology. The exams throughout your training and especially are very, very difficult. So not only can it be difficult to get in, be hard to get through and complete the exams, especially exit exams. But once you do complete it and get out, then you're in a very coveted position in society, with high status and very high income. So overall, I always say Australia is the country of the future. It's just a wonderful place to live, with the beaches, surfing. It's a fair society. It's good. There's health care for all. There's a good welfare net, and it's a great place to be a doctor. You're welcome.